What's up guys? Today we are going to be playing with some dice that I picked up from Dollar Tree. They come in packs of 2, and in case you're wondering what size they are 2 by 2 and a bit. There is a slightly longer side, so I'm not sure why they're not completely uniform, but they are close. So they come in packs of 2, they're nice and cheap, and then we've got some 12-inch balloons here. I will link all of the resources down below, including all the fonts that I'm using and paints and everything, so if you have any questions, check there first. Okay, so let's get started. It's super easy. There are 2 methods we're going to use today. One is the balloon method, which I will show you, and the other is a painted method. Okay, the painted method, you're just painting on top, but I'm going to show you what I did and some tips and tricks about that. So I picked up the blue dice. It comes in green and orange, I saw. I think it also comes in red. I didn't see any red at my store, but I picked up the blue ones in particular because it's a little bit darker, so it won't show through as much, in my opinion at least. I did pick up some orange ones, and it did show a little bit more because of the bright color of the orange. So if you're painting it, try to grab the blue ones, or even the green ones. But, I mean, any of them are fine. You just may need an extra coat or something. Okay, so let's quickly go through the balloon method here. Literally, it's so easy, guys. All you're doing is you're taking a balloon, snip, and you're snipping the neck off, okay? Try to cut as close to the bottom as possible without cutting the actual balloon itself. And that's it. And then you're going to take this. I'm going to stick my fingers in there, okay? I'm going to stretch it out. And guys, if you're using dollar store balloons, they're not as great quality, so I did break a bunch of these already. And you're just wrapping it on top. And all the way around. Now it is going to show a hole here, but I will show you what I'm going to do to cover that up. And it had a little like a little bump at the top, so I'm just stretching it out to even everything out. And I'm going to try to get the hole as center as possible so I can cover it up. Alright, now I'm using a white balloon, and you'll notice that it's not fully covering it up. So we just want to double that up when it comes to the white. If you're using a stronger color, like a red or a green or something, it might cover it up much better, so you won't see it through the balloon. I think you can see that in the camera there. So I'm just going to take another balloon, and we're going to do the same thing. And I've seen people try to do these by putting it on top of this so that the hole's on the other side, but then this is going to show, so I'm going to do the same side. And there we go. You can see that gave us much better coverage. I don't see any blue now seeping through. So that was 2 balloons for the white there. And once again, try to get this as center as possible, and you'll see why. Awesome. Now, the other method is to paint it, which I will show you next. And that one will leave a nice clean finish all the way around, which means you'll actually be able to sell these if you are looking to sell them. But for these, the balloon method is great if you are looking for a way to quickly make them and put them together and use them for personal use, but I personally think that if you are going to be selling them or gifting them, it might actually be a better idea to just paint them. Okay, so I'm gonna add my daughter's name on here in permanent vinyl, and that's it. This is gonna go up in her room. It'd be a nice decorative piece there. It matches the theme that we have for her room. So yeah, so let's move on to the painting method. So now we are going to paint these ones, okay, to see how these turn out compared to these balloon ones here. So let's go ahead and do that. I've got green dice this time. I didn't buy enough blue dice, so I've got green dice this time. I've got a nice big brush, and I picked out my paint here. I've got, these are both chalk paint. This is rich black and this is sheepskin. It's not fully white, it's kind of an ivory tone, and the black is going to go underneath. So I'm going to start with the black, and if you read the instructions, it actually tells you that you are going to need to wait 2 hours in between coats. So it's probably going to make this a little bit more time consuming than just throwing a balloon on top of it. But, I mean, you're going to be keeping these for the long term, right? So this is kind of ugly. I mean, if it's just sitting on the shelf, you don't really see it, but I have mild OCD, so that would drive me nuts knowing that that's there, or if people come over to pick it up. So here we go. I'm going to paint this black. It's going on really nice, so I don't think this is going to take very long to paint. That looks pretty good. I'm gonna let that dry, and I'm gonna paint the rest of my blocks. Okay guys, my black chalk paint has dried. You can still see some of the dots through that, but I'm not too worried about that because I am going to start painting it white, and I think it'll cover it right up. So let's go ahead and paint it white. And once again, in case you were wondering, I am using sheepskin. This is the Folk Art Home Decor chalk paint. Yeah, so I'm ready to do my second coat. I've just done them for all of them here, and I just want to cover a few tips that I've come across while I've been working on this, okay? So this one has its first coat, and I don't know if you can see, but the lines are going this way. So when you add the second coat, go the opposite way. Okay, so when you brush on the first coat, I did them all this way. For my second coat, I'm going to go this way. It gives it better coverage, and it'll help cover all the black and blue underneath. And then when it dries, it'll look a little more polished, as opposed to seeing all those lines there. I don't know if you can see in the camera, but it's kind of messy there. So yeah, I'm just going in the opposite direction of my first of my first layer to give it better coverage. Okay. Another thing you want to do is while you are waiting in between paint coats here, you're going to want to wash your brush. So if you've ever painted a room in your house before, you'll know that you can store your brush in the fridge in plastic wrap overnight and it'll last. But the problem with that is that the brush will still dry out. So if you look at the brush here, you can see that that's all being used, and what will happen is a line right here will form on your brush, and that'll be dried paint, and that won't come out. So I'm going to be waiting for these to dry. So as I wait for them to dry, I'm just running this under some water at the sink to get all the paint out, okay? And by the time that these are dry, my paintbrush will be dry and I'm ready to do another coat. Okay, so do wash your paintbrush in between coats here, because it will make your brush last much longer. Anyways, I will see you in a bit once these are dry. All right, so let's start designing our letters that we're going to put on our blocks, okay? The first one I'm going to do is the ones for my daughter's, the blocks for my daughter's room. So what you always want to do is start with a template. I measured the dice block from Dollar Tree, and it looks like it's 2 inches by a little bit bigger than 2, but we're going to leave it at 2 to make sure that it fits. And the next thing you're going to do is just grab the text, and you're going to write a letter, so we can make sure it fits, and then you're going to move that over, put it on top, and size it out. There we go. I'm going to change this color so we can see that a little bit easier. All right, so now that I have the size that I want, I'm just going to go back to this text layer and add the other letters. And I'm going to put a space in between each one so it'll be easier to take them out and put them on my actual blocks. Now, I actually don't like this font, so I'm going to change that. Don't mind me. I'm going to use this one. All right. Awesome. Now that's on there. Now the next thing I'm going to do is, because I used the balloon method for these blocks, I'm going to try to cover up that extra balloon where you cut the neck off, right? So it's kind of ugly the way it is right now. So I'm going to try to cover that up. And I think I'm going to just use some shapes because they are for my daughter's room. She can learn her shapes. So I'm going to take these different shapes here and make some shape cutouts. So this one we want smaller. Oops. We just want to make sure they're smaller than the 2x2, right? Because that's what's going to be cut out. So each of these shapes, I think I'm just going to make them about 1.5, because I know that will fit. And we need 6 shapes here. See, that one's too big, so we gotta adjust the height on this one, otherwise it's not gonna fit. And I actually don't like how sharp this is looking, so I'm gonna adjust that myself. Yeah, if you click on this lock button here, it allows you to change it. Otherwise, it'll just stay as that narrow diamond shape. And let's do a star. And let's do a heart. Awesome. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've got 6 there. Okay. And then the final thing we're going to do before we start making our cut is to get rid of that. Okay, so I just make it disappear because if I need to edit this later, I'm going to keep that there since I already made it. So if you hide it from the view, which is clicking on this little eye here, it won't show up on the mat when it goes to sorted. And I think I am going to just keep them all the same color. So let's go to make it. And let me get out of there. I'm going to make all of these black. All right, let's go to make it. Cool. I don't want to use the 12 by 24 because it's wasting all this extra space here. I don't really like how they laid it out. So I'm going to do, that's still too big. Okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go back and I'm going to ungroup this. So right now it is one text layer. I'm going to ungroup this. And what that's going to do is split the text into multiple layers here. So you see all the different letters are separate now. So when I go to make it, it should sort it a little bit better because I'm looking to print this, to cut this on 8.5 by 11. So I don't waste as much vinyl here. And I'm going to measure out my vinyl here. So it looks like the 8-inch mark and just over 5 is the piece I'm going to cut out. So let's make that and we will stick them on the blocks and finish that off. Hey guys, here's a super quick tip for you guys. If you've got the Cricut vinyl here, each of these blocks measures out to 1/2 inch. So I'm looking to make something that's 5 by 8 based on what it shows in Design Space. So that makes it really, really easy because I don't have to get out my ruler or anything. I can just count. I can go, look, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 inches right there. I'm gonna make a cut. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And that's my final cut there. Awesome. I'm gonna finish cutting that excess off, but I want to get this on my mat and cutting as soon as possible. So I'll see you in a minute. Alright guys, so we've got the vinyl cut out. Now, typically you would weed this and then use transfer tape to transfer it, but since I'm going to be using each one individually anyways, I'm just going to use them sort of like stickers. So I'm going to get this O off. So I'm going to take out the O and literally I'm using this like stickers. That's on the bottom. I think I'm going to keep that on the bottom. Oh, that is not straight. Super easy, guys. That's on the bottom. Oh, and I think I forgot to mention, I am using permanent vinyl, in case you were wondering. This is not removable, this is permanent. Awesome. Now to deal with these, I'm going to take a look at which one's kind of like in the worst condition right now. And that's how I'm going to decide which one of these to use. So this one looks like a smaller hole. This one looks slightly smaller. This one is pretty big. So I might use the big square for that one. Let's see how that looks. actually, the fact that this was cut on light cardstock is actually kind of great because I can actually take these out of here and see which one should go where to make this work. That'll cover that up nicely. Okay, I think that looks good. So these are pushing them up, so I'm gonna give this a little trim. All right, and yeah, you just peel these off and stick them on. They are not perfect, but it will do. Ta-da! Do, 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 do. And we've also got these ones that we've painted, and I really like how they came out. They came out really, really nice. Now this was a long process. I did use almost 3 coats of the white and just 1 coat of the black because you're painting over top of it anyways. But these came out so nice. I'm just really, really happy with it, and I definitely like it more than the balloon. The balloon method is very smooth, as you can see, but this was kind of a pain, and it's still not 100% perfect because of that. And yeah, if you have latex allergies, this obviously will not work. So keeping that in mind, this painted method, guys, take the time. Take the time to paint it. It looks nicer. And you can see here, maybe not in the camera there, but I did do, so 1 layer was this way, 1 layer was this way, and it really helped fill in all those gaps. Now, if you want to distress this to give it that farmhouse look, you could sand down the corners a little bit. I'm not going to do that because I don't really want that look. I like them white as they are, but you could go ahead and do that. So I'm just going to print out the vinyl and get this set up, and yeah. I think that turned out really nice. One thing I do want to mention about these before we wrap up is that if you're using the Dollar Tree dice, there is a taller side and a shorter side, okay? So when you start sticking these on them, make sure it's the same, because otherwise you're gonna run into this problem where it, like, you can't see it in that, but where there's this height problem. Like, this is not the same height, okay? And you'll notice that when it's sitting on the table. So make sure they're all the same direction before you start putting the vinyl on. The other issue I found with the painted ones was that if you need to readjust the vinyl, it does strip the paint off. Okay, so you'll either, I can show you here, so you see that it stripped the paint off a little bit because I put it on the wrong side. So you could just repaint that. That's probably what I'm going to do, but just make note of that once you place it down, if you need to make adjustments to it, it will tear the paint off. Alright, well, I hope you guys like this video. Let's take a look at both of them there. So this is the painted one, and this is the balloon method. And you can see the balloon method, it looks a little bit smoother, but at the same time, this kind of gives it more of a decorative look, I'd say. Anyways, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and let me know what kind of videos you'd like to see next, and I will see you next time. Bye!